message of love and acceptance and unconditional positive regard without
Hmm.
setting an agenda. It's really
Right.
hard to do that. And again, real similarities with the counseling profession, where we may have our own head full of beliefs on how people should live their lives. When they're
Hmm.
coming to us for help, it's like, just stop dating the guy who's beating you. It's like, but we don't get to
Yeah,
tell them that.
yeah, exactly. No, that's very true. Yeah,
Do you worry
very.
about, given the fact that you're using federal funding and all this, and it has its roots in faith-based intervention, do you worry about the community coming after you guys going, hey, you're proselytizing people with public funds? Like, has that ever happened, or do you care?
Boy, wait, I'm gonna tell you something, Jake. You may not know this, but Ryan White, state of Nevada, started a Nevada Faith and Health Coalition a year ago. I had my daughter and I had started the Northern Nevada Faith Based Coalition a while back in 2015, and our focus at that time was on substance abuse and trying to get some grants so we could reach out to young people. And that was a grant through SAPTA, the Substance Abuse. You know what it is, but I was probably
Prevention
say
Treatment
Substance Abuse
Agency. Yep,
Prevention and
yep.
Treatment
They're federal.
Agency.
Yep.
Hmm. So we were trying to get funding through SAPTA, and then there was another federal program that funded coalitions to do the work. So we tried for years, but it's so competitive. It's like maybe one per state, if that. And so we kept trying and we never got the grant. So about 5 or 6 years later, I decided, well, when the state came to me and said they wanted to start their own faith coalition, I was just really surprised. So the state of Nevada Ryan White program has a Nevada Faith and Health Coalition where they deal with HIV and AIDS. Right now we're dealing with the coronavirus pandemic and other health issues and disparities that affect, people in general, poor people, Black people, people of color, low income, other ethnicities. So we're tackling that right now. So to me, that's a real big step for the state to come and take that sort of precedence. Now, some people don't like it. I shouldn't say some people, a few people, because they think you're trying to do that, that you're not separating church and state.
Right.
But unless church and state work together, some of these communities you're not going to reach.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I applaud the Ryan White program in the state of Nevada for starting that type of coalition. But we do more than just HIV/AIDS. We do a lot of health disparities working with the faith community.
That's cool, and I'm glad you segued that for me into coronavirus and COVID. What are you guys seeing now with regard to people who have this very difficult chronic illness of HIV? That makes them predisposed to other illnesses because their bodies are so busy, fighting off this other thing. How has that played in to your organization's efforts and the outcomes and the receptiveness to what you're pitching?
Right. The coronavirus is really, it's something because a lot of our clients, because their immune system is compromised, even though they might be undetectable, they still have to be careful, so that they don't get the disease. So most of our clients now do not come to the office. We do telehealth. We work with them over Zoom or over the telephone and provide them services that way. But the pandemic, and I was just reading this article globally, I thought this was interesting. This has come from the HIV UN of AIDS, and it says United Nations Program of HIV and AIDS warns that stigma and discrimination among marginalized populations are driving both the AIDS crisis and the COVID-19 crisis and must be tackled and eliminated to end what officials call the dual colliding pandemic. I haven't seen a lot of the dual colliding pandemic with my clients, but I'm sure there's probably that colliding effect in a lot of the larger cities and other places that we may not see it. But I thought that was interesting that really, when you got the coronavirus and you have HIV and AIDS, that's a collision course you do not want to take.
Minority communities, in my experience, tend to be pretty conservative with regard to their suspicion of government. And I'm wondering if there's now like a doubling down of that with all the misinformation that's been spread about the disease itself. COVID-19, and also the treatments. Are you seeing more resistance to care because of that overlay now with all the fighting and the divisiveness and all that stuff? Or is it more like, man, we got a lot of stuff that we need to figure out. This is the time now to move forward and trust medical professionals as opposed to, whatever the government may be pulled by, whatever strings or whatever. Or like, where's that going? Is it getting worse or better? Or, I don't know. Maybe I don't even know what I'm asking.
Worse, but it's kind of, maybe a little bit, but we work also with the Nevada Minority AIDS Council. And the lady, she resides in Las Vegas, but she takes care of the whole state. And so she partnered with one of the pharmaceutical companies, and they did a study. So I participated in the study, and then we recruited other. They did a study in the African American community and one in the Hispanic community to see exactly what they thought about the virus and what they thought about the vaccine. So it was very interesting. Okay. With the African American community, the big thing that came up was the Tuskegee, problem that happened when syphilis came out.
Take this vaccine. I promise it doesn't have syphilis this time.
Right. So that was one of the things that came up because they're non-trusting, and so some of the dialogue that took place was that, hey, you know what? I'm going to wait and see if this vaccine works before I take it. But that was across, because this particular survey that was done, or this study that was done primarily for African Americans and Hispanics. So I'm not sure, and I'm sure there's surveys done with Caucasian people too, but I'm not privy to that information at this time. And then on the Hispanic side, one of our Hispanic pastors, we had our Faith-Based Coalition meeting last night, and one of the things he was saying, he's a prominent pastor in Reno, and he was saying a lot of his drawback for the coronavirus vaccination is that a lot of his congregation is undocumented.
Right.
They don't want to take the test in case people find out they're undocumented and they get sent back home. But they're telling the folks, even if you're undocumented, it's not going to affect you. But still, that's something that has to be broken within the Hispanic community, that fear of being deported if they find out that you are undocumented. And that's the biggest thing with the Hispanic community.
Right. Yeah. Nobody wants to get put into a database for any reason, I don't think.
Exactly.
Especially not to get gotcha'd. So yeah, I could appreciate that. Wow. Especially with all the rhetoric that's been spread the last several years about, kicking them out and building the wall and, all that stuff. I get that. I get that. That's a tough battle to fight. I had a question, and it's gone now because I think I've got senioritis for 2020, and I just want it to end, and my brain is mush now.
Oh yeah, I know, it's a lot.
But
you get your thought, and then people talk over you, then you forget your thought. Hey, I'm there. I know.
But I'll shift gears instead, and I'll ask about what the future is for Accept and for the overall movement. Are you inspired? Are you discouraged? Is there motion in one direction or another? Like how's it moving?
It's moving pretty good. The pandemic has affected everybody. We see less clients in person that we used to see, but we like I said, we still service them via telehealth. But we're forging on, and we're just trying to say, oh, God, I hope this pandemic is over sometime next year so we can get back to normal. But I think our new normal is not going to be the normal that we knew in the past. But, our programs are still going well. We anticipate being funded again next year because our funding stream always ends March 31st, and then you have to reapply for the grant, and then you get reinstated for April 1st. So we feel pretty confident that we will still be funded. But we're just trying to stay up and stay positive and let our clients know that we're there for them and everything's going to be okay. This will be over soon. So that's kind of where we're at. We're just trying to forge on, be positive, help our clients the best way that we can, and let them know that we care for them and we'll take care of them as the best we can, during during all the stuff that's going on. And then you mentioned too earlier, Jake, about the racial divide and all the stuff that's going on. I'm just hoping and praying that hopefully next year maybe things might get better, but we just got to pray and hope for the best in that particular area.
Yeah, it's an encouraging message, and it's one that I think breathes a lot of togetherness, right, and consensus. We don't have to fight. We're all God's children. That if that's the message, then let's ditch the judgmentalism based on outward appearance and that kind of thing. I do remember my question. It was going to be about, you've said repeatedly now, undetectable, meaning you can't pass it. Right. You're not sick with it, but it's not gone. So we hesitate to use the word cured. We haven't cured AIDS, right. But for all intent and purpose, it kind of sounds like maybe we're getting there.
We're getting there. Yes. We can't say it's cured. The doctors will not use that term. And I remember in my church a few years ago, we had a young man that got up and said, "I'm cured of HIV/AIDS." And I'm saying, oh, Lord, it would have to be the Sunday my husband wasn't there. And that's the Sunday I was preaching. I said, Lord, how am I going to handle this? So I tried to play it off this way, Jake. I said, you know what, brother so-and-so? I said, hey, look, if you are definitely healed by God, you got it. Like the leopards. I'll go back to the leopards who went and showed themselves to the priest that they were clean. I said, you just got to go to the doctor and get him to sign off on it, man. And I said, man, you're going to get on the road and let people know that God is a healer. But he was definitely undetectable. And he was believing God for the healing, but I have yet to see the doctor's affidavit. You know what I'm saying? On that. So but undetectable is a good thing. It's a very good thing. Like I was saying earlier, you can't pass it. We still recommend condoms if you stay on your medications. And then we have this campaign called U equals U. So if you're undetectable, you're untransmittable. So that's where we're trying to get people to get to be undetectable so they can't transmit this disease to other people that they, may have relationship with.
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this or package it, I guess. Is it undetectable as long as you're taking medication? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to stay on your meds, right? Because once you get off those meds, your viral load goes up. So what happens with undetectable, it keeps your viral load down. So those little the HIV virus cannot mutate in the body as long or replicate in the body as long as you're taking those antiretroviral drugs. But once you get off of those drugs, then the viral load goes up and your T cell count goes down, and then you're no longer undetectable.
Do we know if there's a period of time that you can be undetectable and then the virus is gone, or is it like nobody wants to roll those dice to find out?
If it's gone, if the virus is gone, no, the virus is still there, but it's very minute. Okay. So you really can't see it, but it's still in the body. So you just have to stay on those meds to keep that under control. So something similar like maybe you have high blood pressure and the doctor prescribes a high blood pressure med. And then say your blood pressure is 200 over 100. But once you start taking that medication, your blood pressure comes down and you're normal. You're like 120 over 70. However, if you decide I don't want to take these blood pressure medicines anymore, then your high blood pressure goes back up. And that's very similar to how the HIV medications work.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking cancer, like it goes into remission. That's the phrase we use. We don't say we're cured. We say I'm in remission. I've been in remission for 20 years or whatever it is. But there's always that chance that it can recur somewhere else. Or okay. All right. I get it. That makes more sense to me now. I know we had that little technical glitch in the middle there, and we lost a few minutes.
Sorry about
no,
that.
It's fine. I wanted to be respectful of time because I know we budgeted this for about an hour, and we're coming up on it. I want to ask: is there something that you would really wish to impart upon the listening audience? One thing more than anything else, in order to give them a sense of hope and inspiration and encouragement, and invite them to maybe either not be afraid, but also do something. What would those two things be? What are you not afraid of? What can you do? And then what's your big thing that you want to send them?
The big thing I would want to send them is to, if you ever encounter a person with HIV and